countries which has done wonders in the field of accessible health. They have transformed their economy in unimaginably short time. The quality of health, quality of education is wonderful there. Probably one of the finest examples of public health system in the developing world. We have Dr. Manju Sharma, Dr. Nora Mikheji, and Yoslan. Then there will be a room for discussion. Would you like to make some opening remarks, Dr. Batista?
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For us, it's a very important opportunity to be here together. As Dr. Anil mentioned, Cuba now is a very important process of transforming its economy and updating its economic model. So innovation should have a relevant work. And our government is very aware of that influence of innovation in the development, and especially in the social development of our people. And for us, it's very important to be here. I have already a presentation.
Okay, so before, thank you. What we are planning to do in this session is to highlight the challenges that science and technology system faces in bringing about innovation. And innovation is not just science and technology. Innovation is also about design of delivery systems. Innovation is about education. Innovation is about institutions. How do our institutions permit and encourage innovations? And innovation invariably therefore require dissent, diversity, and diversity. All the three are very difficult to deal with. Dissenters are very a pain in the neck. You don't like them. Diversity is always challenging because it demands a lot of space for ideas that may not always be very popular. And of course, when you have diversity, you also want to have a lot of divergence in ideas. So there are 3 or 4 issues that we need to address here. One is that how do we create co-creation between the formal and informal sector? Just to give you an example, NIF, National Innovation Foundation, works with more than 200 labs every year. My colleague Dr. Kumar is here. He can give more details of that for those of you who are interested. And these labs from public and private sector, from CSIR, from ICAR, from ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, Council of Scientific Industrial Research, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, all these labs and from private sector work with the grassroots innovators and take their technologies forward. We have 2 challenges here. One, the innovations have to be validated, and second, innovation have to be valorized. We would like to hear from the participants here, how have you tackled the problem of validating and valuation in your country and in your region, in your sector, in your company, in your network? Because this is a very major challenge. Unless and until we add value to what people have done on their own through empirical research, we will not be able to give the confidence to the masses that their ideas may have scientific validity, even if they don't have scientific training and scientific education. We also want to bring in focus to the children. We have been arguing, and we have done many experiments with UNICEF together to show that children should not be treated as only a sink of advice and assistance, but children should be treated as source of ideas. And when they are treated as source of ideas, they can transform. The youngest child whom we gave an award under Ignite at NIF was class 1, age 5. If a 5-year-old can think of a solution which we have not been able to conceive and imagine what will be done by the older students. Today in our exhibition, there is a very interesting innovation by Chaya Thakur. She was in class 7 in a village school, Boru in Mehsana. She found that in schools, the water drinking taps are at the same height. Now there are little kids and there are taller kids. How do the little kids drink water? Now I have been to so many villages, so many places. I have seen this problem. It didn't occur to me that there is a problem here. But the child saw the problem and suggested tilting the pipe. Such a new, cute solution, such an affordable solution. How do we bring such ideas into our mainstream system so that our children start conceiving of education, innovations in the early stage. We also want to create what Dr. Mashir often calls it MLM, more from less for many. How do we create a culture of frugal innovation? Sometimes when there are a lot of resources in the lab, people don't want to understand, don't realize the constraints in which people work. But in our country, for example, our space mission, $78 million in Mars, mission to Mars. No country has done it in less than $1 billion. So we have this in our sanskar, in our value system, as to how to do things with very low cost. And how do we do things very well through a lot of collaboration. Our average cost of validation is hardly $5,000 in some cases, whereas nowhere it will cost less than $50,000 because scientists don't charge for their time. So let us think about frugal ways in which things can be done. Let us think about how different levels of education can be brought into science and technology system. Let us also think about how can we create co-creation between the formal and informal sector. How do we bring the unmet need of our society on the agenda of our students so that when they do their final year project, they can take up those problems. So these are some of the issues that I'm just trying to flag. You can, of course, go beyond these issues and add your inputs into this discussion. I will now invite Dr. Manju Sharma to share her thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Gupta, the co-chair of this session, and very distinguished participants from India and abroad. I have just a few points to add as to in what Dr. Gupta has already said regarding the innovations and the inclusiveness. But my focus will be in the area of biotechnology because I consider that area as the most relevant area of science and technology, which has a direct impact on the life of human being. Absolutely direct impact. It meets the requirements of the human being. Also, it requires a total inclusive policy to develop an ecosystem in which biology innovations, going up to scaling up, going up to demonstration, and finally a product which can be used by the people can be developed. The basic issue here is that already biotechnology has been defined in one of the UNIDO conferences as making money with biology. We also know that biodiversity is the field stock of biotechnology industry. In a country like India, which is bestowed with enormity of bioresources, we have the biodiversity of animals, microbes, plants all over the country, with hotspots represented in 2 regions. Now, this diversity is a livelihood source of a very large number of Indians, many of them living below the poverty line, many of them in the middle class, and even some of the big industries which want to go, let us say, up to the whole issue of drug development and drug discovery. The important biomolecules are the innovations from where the drug development starts. So innovation basically should be inclusive of starting with the basic research from the laboratory scale, completing the innovation chain, and going up to the product development, and then going to the field. But in this process, what is most important? A sustained financial resource, which is very critical. Without that, nothing can happen. Also, mentoring and nurturing of young minds. At every stage, that is the critical issue when we are talking of innovation and inclusiveness. Also, it will be important that we take up some directed missions. In biology, at least, I feel that that is a very important step. For example, if let us just take the area of agriculture or plant resources, all animal resources. What are the crucial issues facing this country? If we talk of the animal resources, we need feed. We have to work on their disease part. And how are we going to do that? Everything cannot be done in the big cities. We have to go down to the grassroots level. And we have many success stories of this type of work in the whole area of animal kingdom and livestock population. They have gone and started the work from development of the feed, using the local resources, looking at the disease pattern, developing different formulations for their diseases. Because obviously they cannot come and they cannot afford something very expensive or go outside in the big cities and get some medicines. So their innovation focuses on the livestock population. Similarly, there are many areas where we have focus on the plant resources. Tissue culture technology is becoming almost a household technology. Wherever we want to look at the new technology intervention into producing high quality elite planting material. That is, of course, a very, very important area for all the villagers. The concept of bio-villages, which was developed in the CSIR when I was the chairman of their RSC, this was for undertaking work in the area of medicinal and aromatic plants, which again is the strength of this country. When we talk of innovations, we should not forget that medicinal and aromatic plants are the key source of livelihood, of herbal formulations which are used in the healthcare system, as also on so many other areas. Today we are talking of malnutrition, combating malnutrition in the country. And again, we go back to our plant resources, developing value addition, developing post-harvest preparations, and establishing small-scale industries in the rural areas at the grassroots level. In the healthcare area, one important issue which also needs to be flagged here is the whole question of diagnostics. We have been working, and this is little higher technology, but not difficult, because what work is being done in the lab, the moment we have some hand-holding within an industry, even a small-scale industry, it doesn't matter that it has to be a very big industry always. It will end up into a diagnostic kit or a diagnostic system, and early diagnosis of the disease is many times better than cure. That is the crux of the whole thing. All the science and technology policies in this country have had inclusion of S&T inputs in all the areas of human welfare. Particularly, I want to flag here one issue which is very important, Dr. Gupta, is the involvement, training, skill development, and inclusiveness of women in every program. Women constitute 50% of the human resource, not only in India, but in many of the developing countries, all over the world, in fact. And why is it that they are not fully utilized in this innovation system? Why are they not brought into the ecosystem? That their physical requirements for their ergonomics. So we have to support such innovations which will develop instruments which will help the women to work in the farm areas. Again, we don't provide them training. The training is given to all, most of the time, the male farmers. The women are left behind. So I want to conclude here with the saying that sustained funding, hand-holding, mentoring and nurturing the young minds, and completing the innovation chain to harness the benefits of the innovations for the welfare. Thank you.
I will now request, very good, I request Dr. Armando Rodriguez Batista to share his insights from Cuba.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Cuba, I want to thank National Innovation Foundation of India for giving us the possibility to participate in the Global Roundtable on Inclusive Innovation. We attend this relevant meeting in the conviction that a better world for future generations is not only necessary but possible, and the development of inclusive innovation initiatives has a relevant role to play in the construction of modern, sustainable societies for low-income groups of the global population, mostly living below the poverty line, will have a deserving opportunity to be a part of the knowledge creation process and to receive the benefits from science, technology, and innovation. We also recognize the role of India, a country with the second world population and a strong political will to create opportunities that enhance social and economic well-being for every member of society. Although the concept of inclusive innovation is relatively recent, the idea of social inclusion, equity, and equality have been deeply considered by the government of Cuba since the triumph of the revolution, and consequently assumed as a policy of state. Regarding this criteria, we refer to OECD concept of inclusive innovation. There is harnessing science, technology, and innovation know-how to address the needs of lower-income groups, considering both innovation for low-income groups and by low-income groups. The very beginning of inclusive innovation policies in Cuba should be traced to 1961, with the so-called literacy campaign that declared Cuba as the first Latin American country free from illiteracy. Up to this moment, the nation had only had 1 million illiterates, almost 20% of the population. No research centers, no program of research and development sustained by government or enterprises, and only 3 universities in a 6 million population. Taking into account the experience from these days of massive teaching and subsequent Cuban collaboration education from several countries of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, a group of innovative Cuban teachers developed an international awarded method known as Yo Si Puedo, in English, Yes I Can, to teach reading and writing to illiterate people on their own language, at a very low cost and in a short period of time. For example, one person in 7 weeks using 1/3 of UNESCO estimated budget to literacy. It is based on the combination of letter and numbers and the frequency of use of Latin phonemes, facilitating the memory process. This inclusive innovation service has carried out literacy and culture to more than 3.5 million persons in 20 different countries, and has also developed specific tools for languages like Quechua, Aymara, Creole, Swahili, and was awarded with UNESCO 15 Young Literacy Prize in 2006. In a world where more than 700 million adults, including 100 million youth, cannot read or write a simple sentence, education should be a relevant target for inclusive innovation projects. On the other hand, the role of national innovation systems is essential for the promotion of inclusive innovation, in particular the creation of national capacities for science and technology, in condition to conduct research and development agenda that take into consideration the main needs of vulnerable groups of society. In order to guarantee an indigenous science and technology approach for domestic needs, Cuba has developed a significant research and developed infrastructure and dedicated human resources under the condition of small third world nation. In the words of Cuban leader Dr. Fidel Castro, the future of our nation will necessarily be a future of men of science, a future of men of thoughts. Nowadays, Cuban indicators on science, technology, and innovation qualified among the best among developing countries. 1.15 researchers and engineers per 1,000 workers, 14 scientists researchers per million persons, more than 200 research and development institutions, 64 universities, and more than 10,000 PhD. The Cuban government also approved the foundation of Cuba's scientific policy. These are the development of our own human resources, fostering Cuban national and economic development, assimilation of international technologies and knowledge, the development of indigenous technologies, and integration. Science and technology and innovation is organized according to main priorities, and these priorities are strongly related to the needs of Cuban population. For example, healthcare and biotechnology, food production, renewable energy and energy efficiency, climate change and sustainable development, and comprehensive development of the population, including demography. For the implementation of this priority, National Science, Technology and Innovation System create initiatives that respond to the regional and local needs. As an example of this situation, the recent creation in Cuba of Mariel Special Economic Development Zone take into consideration the regional and local research and development infrastructure of the territory, as well as the innovators presented in this zone. In order to promote integration and cooperation, a lot of Cuban organizations have launched particular programs to foster inclusive innovation, such as 15 scientific and technological parks at the regional level and fostering regional and local priorities, like, for example, the coffee production in the Granma and eastern provinces of Cuba. The special groups of experts of research and development institutions that advise farmers, self-employed workers, and local communities on certain demanding knowledge. Youth Technicians Organization that promote creativity and innovation among people under 35 years, fostering capacity building and providing funds for science popularization, and sponsoring awards from young researchers and innovators at the national, regional, and community level. National Forum for Science and Technology, gathering every member of society, from science, doctors, teachers, to workers, students, farmers, and even retired people, housewives, and primary students, with the objective to stimulate creativity on the solution of practical problems of daily life of institutions and communities. National Innovators Associations, under the influence of the thought of Ernesto Che Guevara, during his period at Cuban Ministry of Industry, under the objective, worker, build your own machinery, as consequence of the unfair U.S. blockade against Cuba that endured more than 50 years and still continues constricting Cuba access to advanced technologies. This organization also promotes social recognition of innovators, as well as economic incentive and intellectual property rights. Some examples of inclusive innovation products and services are Haemophilus vaccine is a unique vaccine in the world, and every Cuban has access to this treatment for free. Meningococcal meningitis B, C, and hepatitis B vaccines. These diseases virtually disappear from Cuba because of these projects. Everprod P is a biotechnological product unique in the world that reduces diabetes-related amputations with an effectiveness from 60 to 95%. Cuban vaccine for non-small cell lung cancer therapy. Climate change impact evaluation from Cuban archipelago and studies of hazard, vulnerability of risks in the cycle of disaster reduction for municipalities and small communities. Also, monitoring and early warning for health and natural hazardous events like hurricanes or disease like dengue, chikungunya, Zika, etc. Nevertheless, if you are a Cuban about one of the most important Cuban innovation, maybe he will mention any of these products for biotech. Maybe they will mention the cars, the American cars, going around the Cuban capital, Havana. And it is also true. Those cars have pieces from Korea, maybe India, Russia. Of course, none of them are American, and they are still working on Havana. As you know, very soon, President Obama will be attending a formal visit, official visit to Cuba, and it will also be an opportunity to continue contributing scientists from Cuba and the U.S., and of course, it will open other doors to development. Just to finish, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our kind invitation to participate on the International Convention of Science, Technology, and Innovation in Cuba, in La Habana, from October 31st to November 4th. And as committed as we are with inclusive innovation, this occasion is also unique to formally launch the International Workshop on Inclusive Innovation for Sustainable let's continue working together, always keeping in mind the words of Mahatma Gandhi, a nation's culture resides in the heart and in the soul of its people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's an admirable story because I know some of our companies like Biocon are working closely with human biotechnology for developing vaccines and many other products. So we have very close cooperation, industrial cooperation with your country. Thank you so much. And you have also shown how in a constrained economy, a lot of ideas, innovation happen where different components from different places are combined together. That happens in our country too. A lot of grassroots innovation involved. I will now request Dr. Narendra Mikije from South Africa to share her thoughts.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I bring greetings from South Africa and would like to first express our appreciation for being invited to participate in this roundtable. My input is basically sharing experiences that we've learned as a country and what is that we're doing as a country to make sure that we leverage science, technology, innovation for inclusive development. For those of you who know the history of South Africa, we became a democracy in 1994, and I have to say that even in terms of our own national policy, inclusion is not a luxury for us. It's not optional. It's something that we've committed ourselves to, and also from experience, inclusion is also not passive. It requires concerted effort. So when one looks at our science, technology, innovation system and asks how is it that we're leveraging STI, is what I'm going to call it now. I work for government, so I like acronyms. How are we leveraging STI for inclusive development? I could share a number of examples in terms of over and above policy, the research, share with you the numbers, but I just thought that for the purpose of this roundtable, let me just focus at a high level. Our white paper on science and technology, over and above focusing on competitiveness and generating new knowledge and skills, also specifically highlights the need for science, technology, and innovation to contribute to improving the quality of life for all. So that's from a policy perspective. And what we know is that having policy on its own is not enough. You need to support policy with the appropriate policy instruments. And be very specific in terms of when you talk about inclusive development, who are you trying to include and why? And is it inclusiveness in terms of, like in our case, we have what we call the triple challenge: inequality, poverty, and unemployment. So when we talk about inequality, so we look at inequality in terms of access and opportunity. So the STI system itself has to be inclusive. That's number one. Before you think about including the bottom of the pyramid in meeting their needs and working with them, the system itself has to be inclusive in terms of gender, race, representing youth interests, and other factors. So, as I said, when we talk about inequality, we talk about inequality in access, in participation, and beneficiaring from the advances of science and technology, as well as recognition of innovation, because this session, as I understood Professor Gupta, talks about or focuses on innovation at grassroots level. So, what we have found as a country is that systems thinking is critical. You cannot prioritize just having policy over and above everything. You need to come, or your approaches must be systems-based, in that policy, as I said, it has to be supported by the appropriate instruments. You need to have the appropriate institutional mechanisms to be able to respond, and also be brave enough to monitor what is it that you put in place. For example, in our case, we've started a conversation with science councils and universities looking at their role in terms of how are they working with grassroots innovators, how are they responding to innovations from the informal sector of the economy. Are they accessible? Is it easy for anyone to walk into a science council and say that I have a prototype, please assist? Looking at all of those things. So there's that conversation that is currently unfolding. And institutional mechanisms are critical. And what we've also realized is that we've had to have some institutional reform in terms of how some of our institutions are structured, because some of them were structured prior to 1994, before we had this focus on inclusive development. So we are looking at how do we, for example, rethink our own innovation policy to prioritize grassroots innovations? When it comes to policy instruments, what incentives do you have in place, or what disincentive do you have? So it's incentives and disincentives to discourage unideal behaviors that you may be having from some of your partners from the system. And when we talk about, Professor Sharma made an example of a research and development system. What we've realized is that for us, for South Africa to harness her innovative edge, and for all, when I say all, particularly the informal sector and grassroots innovators, to play a role in our innovative system, system of innovation, the national research and development system has to be structured such that it responds to them. So it has, for inclusive development to happen, you need to have a capable, responsive, and appropriate research and development system that is accessible and can support innovations from all. Because our white paper, as I said, it did commit South Africa to support all kinds of innovations. What we found also in our case is that government and business on our own, we cannot achieve inclusive innovation or achieve our inclusive development goals. So the role of private, of the engagement of civil society becomes key, in that they are the ones who work with grassroots and are most close to local development initiatives. So we've prioritized working with them, and we have a number of engagements where we are working with civil society in South Africa. So while we do that, we've also realized that as South Africa, similar to a number of other countries, the issue of scaling up is a challenge. But in our case, we are now working with the private sector. When I say working with the private sector, it's not perfect, it's work in progress. But working with the private sector because we are working with the private sector just to make sure that when it comes to commercialization, they play their role, because it's not necessarily the role of government to commercialize on its own. And you need champions to leverage, to successfully leverage STI to develop an inclusive system. Champions at the political level and at an administrative level. And what we also found in South Africa, a question that we've asked ourselves, that we're asking, we know that a number of other partners are going through the same, is impact assessment. How do we measure the impact of STI on improving the quality of life for all? Here I'm not talking about research and development outputs or how many graduates you are producing as a country, but really, how is your system and its instruments contributing to improving the quality of living and the standard of living of your citizens? So we are developing an impact monitoring framework. It's work in progress, but we're working with other partners on that. And I said, this is work that's in progress. And also the private sector engagement is key, because when you approach this issue from a systems perspective, you need to realize that the government on its own, with its state development entities, cannot do this. And lastly, because I can see I'm almost running out of time, the youth focus. In our case, what we've done is we've separated youth. We're looking at youth in school, youth out of school, and youth in between. The youth in between is youth that is neither employed, neither in training, nor in education. So it's seeing how do we work with that youth, that sector of the youth, to make sure that, because we've realized that there's innovation, but you just need to be able to respond. One, we must find them, because some of them are not easy to find. So, as I said, this work requires one to be deliberate and intentional. So going out there to find them, scouting, and also responding to them, because once you've created the hype, you must be able to respond accordingly. And seeing that I'm almost running out of time, I'll just share that in terms of what has been said earlier, as South Africa, we have various institutional mechanisms that we have put in place, centers of excellence in terms of research, technology stations, we have a number of incubators, we have a number of funding instruments that we've introduced to fund innovation. And last year we launched a specific fund for grassroots innovators, a first. And in terms of research and development, as I said, it's even rethinking how our education system is responding to our current needs as a country and responding to our Vision 2030 need in terms of our National Development Plan. So to end off, because my now now my time is up, is it's reflecting on what I was saying earlier. To leverage STI to develop an inclusive ecosystem, you need to focus first on STI being inclusive itself, and then you can think about meeting the needs of the bottom of the pyramids and be inclusive in that respect. And on that note, I'd like to end.
Fact, very good. One of the problems that you shared is the problem in India too. More than 60% children don't go beyond that class. So we have a large pool of dropouts in the education system who have to be brought into the mainstream by providing right skills and continuing education. So it's a very challenging problem that you mentioned. I would request Yoslan Noor, who is a program specialist in UNESCO, to share his perspective.
Thank you very much, Professor Anil Gupta. On behalf of UNESCO, I congratulate India to organize this festival. It is very important, and it is very fantastic, even to promote innovation in the country. I would like to use these 10 minutes to talk about UNESCO strategies and key action in promoting inclusive innovation in the developing countries. First of all, UNESCO work on the vision of innovation. So all of us understand that innovation is essential today. It is a critical factor to enhance economic growth and competitiveness. At the same time, it is a crucial for social cohesion, equity, and poverty elevation. So it is not only for competition, but also for cooperation. So we are seeing the innovation in these two sides. So UNESCO vision built on the definition of innovation proposed by OECD, so that innovation is implementation of new significant improved product, a new marketing method, like this? Okay. So UNESCO vision built on the definition of innovation proposed by OECD. So innovation is an implementation of new or significantly improved product, a new marketing method or process, and also the organization. At the same time, UNESCO insists in the importance of grassroots innovation as a core important to the source of solution to meet the needs of the developing countries. Based on this vision on innovation and our experience in the developing countries, UNESCO facilitating innovation in developing countries in three axes. First, we are facilitating the development of innovation ecosystem. Building innovation ecosystem is creating interrelation or interconnection among the innovation stakeholders, academia, industry, government, and financial sectors. But building innovation in developing countries is much more complicated than this because we are in the other model of the economy. Because in many developing countries, sometimes it's more than 50% of economic operate in informal sector. It is huge. So we cannot ignore it. We have to take it into consideration in working on innovation. So we have to consider the existing of the informal sector and also non-governmental organization. So we have to create a special linking among all of these stakeholders. An effective innovation system should allow the private companies to generate wealth and also to improve the living condition of the poor. This is our basic principle. And UNESCO provided a class system on organized capacity building activities in its member states to establish national and regional innovation system. Our second action is encouraging the creation of knowledge-based small-medium enterprises by supporting development of science park and technology business incubator. Science Park and Technology Business Incubator provide an appropriate ecosystem to nurture and to host the knowledge-based small medium enterprises. UNESCO supporting this development of Science Park and Business Incubator through several actions. First, we are organizing capacity building activities at international level, regional, and national level to manager of Science Park and Technology Business Incubator, and also to the manager of the startup companies. So in every year, we organize an international training workshop in Daejeon, Republic of Korea, and we also organize regional training workshop in East region, in Asia Pacific region, in Arab states, in Africa, in Latin America, and also in Europe. And more than 3,000 manager of Science Park and Technology Business Incubator has been trained through our program. And second action in supporting small medium enterprises, we provide policy advice and technical assistance in setting up a Science Park and Technology Business Incubator. So we are providing technical assistance in preparation of feasibility studies, elaboration of business plan, master plan, and also review of a strategic plan and evaluation of existing Science Park. We have also pilot projects. So far, we have 3 pilot projects. One in Arab states, in Alexandria, and second in Nairobi for Africa. And in Asia Pacific, we have a pilot project in Jakarta. UNESCO also support the creation of regional Center for Science Park and Technology Business Incubator in Isfahan, Iran. This center facilitates our activities in providing technical assistance and policy advice in the development of Science Park and Technology Business Incubator in Asia Pacific region. And then since last year, UNESCO, in cooperation with Korean partners, organized a Global Innovation Forum. It is a forum to share the knowledge on innovations among the innovation stakeholders around the world. And this year, we will organize it in Indonesia, in Jakarta. It will be held from 14 to 16th of September. I invite all of you to participate in this conference. And then our last acts in promoting inclusive innovation is supporting grassroots innovation for sustainable development. Grassroots innovation can be a critical tool to deal with poverty and promote social inclusion. So grassroots innovation is primary bottom-up approach of proper innovation. So I think that India is a champion on this. Then that UNESCO expect from India is this to share the Indian experience with other countries, which is with quite similar economic system with India, like big country like Indonesia, Nigeria, and we really need the Indian cooperation in this field. And to conclude this intervention, so we have 3 main activities. First is supporting development of national innovation system. Second, regional innovation system, and that's supporting grassroots innovation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Friends, we have got a very diverse perspective. We have half an hour for discussion. My suggestion is that we first hear comments from our international friends. If they have some view or a reaction to what has been said, or want to supplement what has been said, I'll invite them first, and then other follow. Please raise hand and press your mic and Harry, you want to say anything? Yes, please.
and president of IDC Herzliya, Professor Reichman, who will address this forum tomorrow to represent the state of Israel here today, if in fact we are doing so. And finally, today being the Jewish Sabbath, please allow me to extend to everybody Shabbat Shalom greetings. My remarks on inclusive ecosystems will be slightly different than the prepared remarks we've heard over the past half hour. And to begin with, I believe that we can all agree that the days of the solo academic scientist and innovator working in his or her 4x4 office are long gone, and that to address the complexities of the world in an ever-changing, fast-paced, changing environment, as we've heard several times today, the word disruption used, and only today has the word disruption become a positive term. And on this particular point, I believe Professor Reichman will speak tomorrow, so I will move on. About 15 years ago, when I was writing my PhD, I looked into one of the theories prevalent at the time, and this was weak links as opposed to strong links. And the question posed was, from whom can we benefit the most? From those immediately around us, our friends, our family, our co-workers, our neighbors, or should we be extending the reach to people who we are less familiar with? From whom can we benefit more? From whom can we learn of new opportunities? Intuitively, at first, one might think that the people around us, the people who are...
Can you switch off the microphone and let us speak without that?
People who are most
Just switch off,
similar
switch off,
to
switch
us.
off. That's it. Your voice is quite loud. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello.
This is what spurred America forward. This is also what I believe is spurring Europe forward, although there's some stagnation. And this definitely is one of the strong and unique characteristics of Israel. What most people may not recognize is that Israel is indeed a very diverse ecosystem. Now, there are other characteristics. I'd like to speak about Israel for a few moments. There are other specific characteristics about Israel from which I believe India can learn from. And each of the characteristics are or carry a double-edged sword. In other words, they can be used for good, they can be used for less good. Some are translatable and some are not. First of all, Israel is a very small economy. It's a very small country. If we look at India, Israel is one cluster of innovation activity. For those familiar with the theory of the 6 degrees of separation, in Israel, there are 0 degrees of separation. This could be bad. We all know each other. We all think we're the prime minister. We drive crazily on the road. We yell at each other on TV talk shows. But the good is that we have immediate access to everybody and everything in this country. If we're talking about innovation, so from capital to ideas to academia to industry, everything is readily available. That may not be readily translatable to India, but the point is to break down as many barriers as possible to allow for this immediate access. Number 2, we challenge everything and anybody in Israel. We answer questions by asking additional questions. We take nothing for granted. We work fast and we fail fast. And this brings me to the final point that I would like to raise. This might be the most difficult for India. We embrace, as do the Americans, risk. We understand that with innovation, there's risk. We understand that with innovation, we are going to fail. What we teach our students at IDC, and I think in Israel in general, is to understand that there will be failure. The trick is to fail fast, pick yourselves up, try again, fail better, and hopefully, ultimately, there will be a success to be had. But what is it that I learned from India which also carries a double-edged sword. This is now, I believe, my 10th or 11th visit to India in the past 7, 8 years. And there are two words that stand out that for me characterize India, what I love about India, and it's the double-edged sword. Two words, respect and humility. I have found in my travels no other people who have a stronger respect for other people and for culture and for tradition. And I have found in my travels no people who are more humble. Humility and respect don't exactly, in my opinion, nurture innovation, where you need an ego and you need to challenge everything. So my humble suggestion would be that the Israeli ecosystem, together with the Indian ecosystem, have to find the modalities to cooperate, to collaborate, so that we bring the best of both systems into catapulting, developing the springboard for what I would say innovation capacity growth, which could be sustainable with the goodwill of people everywhere. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will have a report card next year of what happened to this collaboration.
Pardon?
I said we will have a report card next year as to what happened to this collaboration. So I'm saying that we should all be accountable to what we say and try to get some real results, because next roundtable should bring some impact of what we're doing today and tomorrow on the table and show how this can work. Sunek or Pedersen from Denmark would like to say something? Please go ahead.
I also want to thank the National Innovation Council for inviting me, and I want to share some thoughts of the priorities of the Danish government in relation to the development of the national innovation ecosystem. You see, Denmark is among the 4 innovation leaders in the European Union, the European EU Innovation Scoreboard. Yet, our key challenge is to translate scientific excellence into economic growth and jobs. Input is not enough. How can we improve output from our science system? The Danish government has invested heavily in higher education during the last 10 years. The goal is that 95% of the youth cohort shall have a higher education, 25% should have a long higher education. Yes. The government has also doubled the number of PhDs from 1,200 to 2,400 per year, and it's quite a lot in Denmark. And we have merged our government research institutes and the universities so that the government research institutes capacity can be used in higher education. And I think it's also an idea to consider. As regards to innovation, we have made a national innovation strategy that is kind of working at the system level. And we have also created a new innovation fund, Denmark, that funds strategic research, development and demonstration, that it kind of covers all these areas within the innovation chain. And finally, we have created a catalog of approximately 20 strategic research areas through a societal bottom-up process. And I think that in relation to India, global challenges is a key area of collaboration. But again, the Danish government challenge is to use the nation's resources as a small nation, again, like Israel. We cannot be excellent in all areas, and technological development is developing faster and faster, and we have to carefully select in which areas government should invest. Some areas should support the need of our industry, some should support should improve societal infrastructure, health, education, and we also have to take care of our old people. So our key challenge is to stimulate collaboration between public universities, industry and civil society. And this is also what I hear from the discussion, that it is a very important area. How do we do that?
Thank you so much. I will request everybody to switch off their mobiles completely, or at least Wi-Fi, because that was causing the disturbance in the mic system. So if you switch off your Wi-Fi, our system will become much better. I'll request Anindya Chatterjee from ITRC Canada would like to say something on how can we make the system more inclusive?
Thanks, Professor Gupta, and Excellencies, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Interactions between research institutions, firms, and universities are some of the key components of a national innovation system. So we in IDRC supported a recent study in 12 countries in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. And in Asia, it included India, China, South Korea, Thailand, and Malaysia. I would like to draw upon few insights from that multi-center, multidisciplinary study, which looked at national innovation systems. So, firstly, in this dynamic area of inquiry where there is shaping and reshaping of interactions between the institutions and which are in various stages. This is very expected. So these studies, for the first time, plotted these 12 countries in science and technology production, patents and indexed scientific publications per million populations against GDP of these countries. And the countries cluster in three groups: low, medium, and high. And a boundary between a low and a medium and a high can be drawn based on clustering of these countries. However, these thresholds can be overcome as countries evolve from one regime of interaction to the next. And with time itself, these thresholds move up. So, and the trajectories of the countries also, these 12 countries, which are all emerging economies, are also very different in terms of the actors, their locations, and the implications for the elaboration of public policies for this transition phase. A simple example, relatively simple example, is Korea, which was in level 1 in 1974, between 1 and 2 in 82, between 2 and 3 in 98, and then it has joined the group of developed countries. India, along with several other emerging economies in this scheme of analysis, is in group 2, and China, which was in group 1 in 1982, is leading the pack in the group 2 group of countries. But this study also pointed out to a very important fact which we are talking about today, and that is lack of an analytical apparatus to look at the multiple dimension of innovations that we are talking about. You know, formal interaction between formal and informal, grassroots, inclusive, frugal, the massive scaling up of the platforms and opportunities of innovation that is happening, the attention it is getting in India at the highest levels of the government we are here today. That's the reason. So we do lack analytic frameworks to look at multiple dimensions of innovations, and this is an interesting area of inquiry. We are a research support agency, so this is how we look at. I must also draw attention to the work of Professor Anil Gupta and his group, who have painstakingly captured grassroots innovations and made them available and generated international interest in this issue, not only national. And finally, science and technology overcome national boundaries. The study found, obvious findings of the study was that, fingerprints of international fund flows that connect firms, universities, and research institutions. Firms in one country may be connected with research institutions and universities abroad. Foreign firms contact with local universities and research firms or subsidiaries of transnational corporations in their home and in their host countries. So, and on top of that, collaboration between universities is another key driver. International and national collaboration is another key driver of change. We have supported over the years work on, what we call innovation at the bottom of the pyramid, or helping universities to develop curriculum to work with community level innovators. This is a very important area of inquiry for us. We are a research support agency, and we remain interested in working with many of you in India and elsewhere, where we could generate better insights about this dynamic phenomena in all its complexities that we witnessed today. So thank you very much.
We have two colleagues from private sector. I will request Amit, would like to say something on the innovation ecosystem. Can you come in the front, take this chair, and come here? He heads the India system of R&D and other things in Cisco, which is having 70% market share and 70,000 employees. So I had recently an interaction, and I would like to hear from your perspective, how can networking, which you do in hardware, can be converted into networking in the soft for human systems?
Thank you, Professor, for inviting us to this forum. Very relevant topic, not only for the industry but also for the governments, as we all spoke, as we've been hearing today. I think at Cisco, we are looking at this in a way that there are about 3 billion people across the world who are going to come on the internet over the next 3 years. It's interesting that it's taken 25 years for the first 3 billion to come on the internet. It's going to take only 3 years for the next 3 billion people to come on the internet, which tremendously equalizes opportunity for people. I think we need to look at, what does digitization do, to economies and to societies. I think fundamentally it creates tremendous opportunities and equal effects across the society. The second phenomena that we have already seen over the last 4 or 5 years, which is I think very relevant to this particular topic, is that when digitization happens and when it actually reaches the grassroots level, every consumer is also given an opportunity to become a developer, a innovator, or a business unto itself. And I think that creates the scale, for people and societies then to sort of improve, their economics and come up in life overall. So I guess, the interesting question here is to be able to identify, specific use cases that will further digitization and take it to the grassroots. As that digitization happens, and if you actually are able to latch on to the specific use cases that are relevant to the societies, it will create tremendous amount of opportunities for people. Those opportunities, through that digitization infrastructure, then have to reach different people in different parts of the country as well as different parts of the world. I think healthcare, education are great examples, of what can be done. There is a tremendous dearth of good education in the country, which that needs to reach the masses. And again, digital technology can be used very, very effectively, to do that. Similarly, in healthcare sector, there are lots of opportunities to get basic healthcare to the masses. There are some innovations. Mr. Amitabh Kant talked about the ECG meter that was developed. But in reality, if you digitize the country and if you connect it, the expertise and the specialities of medical sciences can be made to reach the masses in a very frugal way. You can have very simple technologies to actually measure basic body parameters that can be then transported to experts and doctors across the country, and expert advices can be given very, very quickly. I think those type of technologies are there today, but they need to reach the masses, and communication mechanisms, digitization technologies, making them affordable and reachable is going to be very, very key. So I guess, from our perspective, we look at digitization as the mechanism, which is going to be an equalizer in the society, creates tremendous opportunities for people. We need to make sure that from a policy framework perspective, from rules and regulations and laws perspective, we are innovating at the same rate as the technologies innovate the technology aspect. Because even in healthcare, there's a lot of regulation that is there today, which we need to sort of innovate further for the benefits of the healthcare innovations to reach the masses.
I'm very happy that you said it, that how consumers can become providers. Sink to Source was a paper I wrote way back, and the idea was that poor people who are treated as sink, how do they become source? And whether it is children, whether it is grassroots level people, this is a very important thought, that if they will start providing content, what kind of content would that be? And whether our institutions have the pathways or highways of knowledge for those that content to flow into the, and may change our own perceptions. It's a very good thought. I request Shendu to make a brief intervention quickly about from Welcome Trust.
Thank you, sir, for the invite. Coming from a funding agency, sir, the main, when we work with the young innovators, I will make a small point for them. They are excellent in science, but when I come to challenge them with, when we challenge them with questions downside of the science, there they have, a thinking problem. We all together should build an ecosystem where we should handhold them to build a business case, think about IP issues, regulatory issues, and their exit strategy. I think this is what the challenge we all face today, and we should really mentor them, have them together in a boot camps or something. We are all supporting and we all work closely with BioRack and other people to, really encourage them to think 360 degree of the full program, so that this innovation can really take in to them to the market. This is the biggest challenge today. Another challenge we face is writing good applications. They think good, they speak good, but when they come to translate that into paper, that is a big challenge. So I think we all should think together to really come out with supporting these young innovators to think on this and take their innovation so that it can be really de-risked. Funding is available these days and from a lot of places, and funding which was a challenge 7-8 years back was not an issue right now. But to really talk to them, handhold them is the challenge, sir. Thank you.
Before I invite Vipin, I would like to request that if you have thoughts which you have not been able to speak up, please write down on a piece of paper. We have 7 minutes. Kindly write down on a piece of paper. Keep it on your table. My colleagues will collect these from the table and we will incorporate them in our proceedings and share with all of you as to what thoughts you had, which somehow, for want of time, you couldn't share. So kindly do write your thoughts on the piece of paper. Every thought is precious. We really want to learn and first improve our own ecosystem in our country, but we also want to share with others whatever learning we have.
Thank you, sir. In India, we try to collect the information from the grassroots people, as you have seen in the exhibition, but it is very difficult to, validate and convert them into the product. So it's a big challenge, as India is a large country, but simultaneously we have a pool of, scientists who are ready to, help and these people. But what is missing, in fact, the right approach, probably the collaborative approach is missing in our country. Everybody want to do everything, People are not focused on some limited components where they do have the expertise. So probably there is a need to, develop more and more collaborative projects and integrate each and everybody's expertise. Then probably we would be able to convert more and more, innovations and ideas into the product. We did one, experiment, under our collaboration with Indian Council of Medical Research. So we were giving, the project in ICMR approach, but nothing was coming out. In fact, sometime the methodology was a problem. Sometime we have given to the wrong people. But after that, we did the good brainstorming and decided that we will give the, project to the people in, in phases actually, and we will bring the right people, at right time. So, we have not given to one institution. So, what approach we have adopted for validation? We have identified some institution. For validation, we have identified some other institution. And for clinical trials or toxicological trials, we have identified some other institutions who had the proven record in doing those kind of research. So I would only say that probably a collaborative approach will be more useful, not only for grassroots innovations, but any kind of innovations, converting them from crude phase to the refined phase.
Praful Naik is here. Yeah, please go ahead. Brief, 1 minute.
I would just like to say that the Indian science and technology policy at the present moment needs certain changes so that it can promote innovation. The 3 changes that I suggest, number 1 is is that the school education needs to get out of the clear curriculum-based only examination system. It needs to start talking in terms of thinking. I'm sure we need to do that, number one. Number two, the higher education institutions need to have a clarity in terms of what is the aim of their education, what is the aim of their curricula, and that needs to be clearly crystallized, and therefore opportunity given to the students for thinking and for creating. And finally, one more thing, in order to promote research, we need to create much better interaction. I agree that collaboration is the fundamental root for better research. Thank you.
Smita, would you like to add something? Smita? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Smita.
On behalf of Indian Council of Medical Research, I take this opportunity to thank National Innovation Foundation for providing a platform to us to showcase the medical and biomedical innovations which will be exhibited on 16th of March. So ICMR is one of the oldest organization and it has around 32 institutes spread across the country. Our research programs are based on the national health priorities, be it control and management of communicable disorders, addressing reproductive health needs of the people, and control of nutritional disorders and other non-communicable disorders. While innovations are being made in the labs, we do give equal importance in translational research where the benefits of innovations are taken to the masses. In India, we have other challenges. We do have diversity with respect to social, cultural, and genetic variations. Many a time, health issues of a given region are unique. Whenever we have programs to be implemented, we face these problems. So we have a process of involving community in our program, and we also have programs to understand the health-seeking behavior of the community. So DHR has taken an initiative to set up model rural health research units in some states in partnership with a particular state with an aim to use the modern medical technology or the devices for the benefit of rural population. While we are making best use of science, technology, and innovation, the flip side is generating imbalance in our ecosystem, air pollution, water pollution, exposure to pesticides and chemicals, which need to be addressed. And for this, ICMR has a dedicated institute in Ahmedabad, National Institute of Occupational Health. And last year, we had one product which is developed by them. It's a low-cost cooling garment for the benefit of workers who are working in the industry, mainly in the furnaces. And there are a couple of other innovations also for the masses or for the workers. So developing critical mass for and trained manpower is one of the mandate of ICMR. We have programs for fellowships. In the afternoon, Dr. Sharma was mentioning about gender parity, and we do have this issue addressed. We have started special programs, fellowship programs for women scientists who have break in their careers and who would like to get into the mainstream or the re-entry program. So at the end, I would say that ICMR will make all the efforts and invest its resources for achieving set sustainable development goals in collaboration with other stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sadhana, last point.
Well, at the outset, I must share that the objectives and the goalposts of this festival and the roundtable resonates with the international collaboration programs of our department with ASEAN, BRICS, European Union as of now, and with G20 in times to come. The second point that I wish to make is that India's aspiration to raise its innovation quotient and to provide a new model of inclusive development to the world counts on linkages that we can provide to some of the innovation ecosystem stakeholders. And in that, I count on youth, the entrepreneurs, the startups, and the SMEs. And I note with interest that the awards on innovation that are being offered through this festival can be provided linkages under our international collaboration programs to scale up their ideas and to co-develop some technological and other solutions which are affordable, which are robust, which are accessible to the needs of the society at the base of the economic pyramid. This expression of BOP to us is understood as base of the economic pyramid, not the bottom of the pyramid. In that sense, I would like to share some of the programs which are currently on with us, where I see the building of innovation ecosystem to be facilitated. To share, we have a BRICS Young Scientist Forum, which has been set up at the highest level of endorsement to be led by India. And this year, the BRICS residency with India is dedicated to the focal theme of building inclusive, responsive, collective solutions. And as part of that focal theme, a BRICS Young Scientist Conclave is being set up in Bangalore and Hampi in September this year, where we want to leverage the passion, the ideas of as many as 100 youngsters from science, engineering, and allied disciplines from BRIC countries to come together and look at how they are acting as shapers and influencers in making a difference in choice for the development trajectories that we are aspiring. The restless youngsters want to change tomorrow today. With that argument in mind, we are holding a talent hunt and a youth showcase event where bright minds will present their ideas of what they see as their challenge or an opportunity in their career. How do they cope up with multicultural work environments today? And what difference science can make to the society? And we are wishing to create a pan-BRICS innovation core, a core of people, youngsters, who wish to have a change to be accelerated, and we are calling them the people who would like to have a specialized thinking ability to connect to people and come up with new solutions. And we would also like to provide BRICS Creative Talent Prize to some of these ideas that are presented. And this will be a kind of a grant for 3 years for innovative projects. The point is that when we identify, recognize the innovation or the innovators in this country through a system process of what we have heard in the morning, we must use these very set of people to represent India and get connected to pan-BRICS professionals, youngsters, to provide extraordinary solutions which have not been yet established to be doable and workable. The point is that power of ideas has to be tested and demonstrated, without which we don't go far in providing a credible solution that the society counts on. We must not underrate that our farmers, our people in the informal sector are not open to robust and workable ideas. So the points that I hear on innovation is anything which is workable takes everybody's attention, and affordability is important to us. So I would like the recipients of these innovation awardees out of this festival to join the BRICS Young Scientist Conclave so that we can have actionable items out of this dialogue. Another program that DST has booted, and we are working out the details, is on the India-ASEAN Technology Innovation Platform, which would focus on developing and commercializing low-cost solutions, technological transfers, and maybe collaborative R&D projects for concrete products and services. Now, we would like to see that the entrepreneurs, the startups, the SMEs of the country enroll on this platform, and by getting connected to some production systems in ASEAN, which is our major trading bloc, we can see enhancement of productivity through innovation. So far, many of our companies, SMEs in particular, look at resource saving as a means of productivity. They do not value innovation to make a difference in their performance and output. In that sense, we will see that these SMEs and startups, by getting connected to ASEAN hubs, become more productive, more internationalized in their character, and it adds to the trade volume of this country globally and with our extended neighborhoods as of now. To conclude, I would like to make a suggestion that we hear about innovators and innovative solutions in an anecdotal manner here and there. If a portal is set up on global innovators and innovative solutions, such a portal will validate, valorize, as was mentioned in the introductory remarks, many of the innovation that other countries are interested to utilize. But the credibility, authenticity, and workability are in question. And if it is a portal, then it allows easy and speedy sharing of such solutions and such stalwarts who can be mobilized and for whom hand-holding and mentoring is easy to be done. And we would not see that the low-cost solutions only attract the developing world. It could be pointing out that the power of innovation appeals across the world because saving money adds another opportunity, and livelihood opportunities today will stem from replication of innovative, workable solutions. If those are posted on such a portal, it adds to the asset of the world, and India could champion creating such a portal, and all the countries who are on board with us in such a roundtable and in such a festival can enrich that portal. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We come to the close of this first session of the roundtable. Sorry, we will have to close now. We will come back. Because we have 22 minutes for tea. Every time, any minute we take longer, we are getting that much time less for tea. So,
you called me, but I did not get a chance.
Sorry?
You asked me.
I requested for people to write down so they can call. Go ahead, please, quickly. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm on the mic. I think I have a new perspective suggestion for innovation. We largely accept that the core of innovation is creation of economic value, apart from several other benefits to society which it generates. But for enabling effective, inclusive ecosystem based on innovations, I think the economic benefits, if it percolates to a larger base, can create a much bigger impact. And I think this can become the very appropriate model for for-profit social innovation inputs which can go in. What I mean is that the bottom of the pyramid or the base of the pyramid is engaged gainfully through innovation exploitation at both the knowledge skill levels and as well as the financial levels, where there is a much larger impact because of the financial benefits getting percolated and divided rather than going to only a group of innovators who are benefiting from the financial contributions. I think this can become a very, very useful value proposition.
I will hand over the mic to Suresh for last few announcements. We have to come back at 4:30 for the next session. Kindly keep the time, 4:30 sharp for the next session, please.
So, thank you very much for the session. I would like to express my sincere thanks and request my senior colleague, Press Secretary to the Presidency, Venu Rajamani, to kindly present mementos on behalf of the President, who chair and co-chair. Sir, please.